piece.
Yeah, I feel like if it's not included in like their education or their college, like then you're basically asking them to take time out of their, personal life to kind of do these things. And I've seen a lot kind of through social media of like first year teachers who are like, I just got thrown into a classroom and like this is it. And even with school, going through college, you might not always be as prepared. So, I mean, I think you raise like a really great question. How are we going to make sure that teachers have that certain, recommended hours of professional development if it's not required for them to graduate for their certificate?
Yeah. And I was
I
also
don't.
wondering,
Oh,
oh no, you can go ahead.
no, you're fine. Go ahead.
Oh no, it's okay. Because I was about to ask another question, but it's okay.
Oh, okay. I don't think it's the time. I think it's effective professional development. I think that's the problem. A lot of teachers are tired of going to classes that are disconnected from their real world classes, and they want a professional development that's going to actually educate them and give them something they can really use in the classroom. I was reading one document, let me say. Oh, and also we had a document that talked about the widget effect. And it said the widget effect describes the tendency of school districts to assume classroom effectiveness is the same from teacher to teacher. And it fosters an environment in which teachers cease to be understood as individual professionals, but rather as interchangeable parts. And I thought that was so interesting. But to go back to what I was saying, goodness, it was, let me say, the complaints about professional development. It's usually disconnected from everyday practice. It's too generic and unrelated to the curriculum or to specific instructional problems teachers faced. It is infrequent and implemented as a one-shot event or led by an outside consultant who drops in and conducts a workshop and never returns to the school or district. So these seem to be the problems with the professional development. Let me say, according to the research, high quality professional learning opportunities for teachers should contain the following 5 characteristics: aligns with school goals, focuses on core content and modeling of teaching strategies, includes opportunities for active learning of new teaching strategies, provides the chance for teachers to collaborate, and includes follow-up and continuous feedback. So that's the type of professional development that teachers want versus what they actually get. So anybody have any thoughts on that? Do you think there's a way to implement professional development that actually helps in the classroom?
Well, I was just reading another article, like one from this week. I was just going over it, making teacher evaluation a launch pad for growth. It's under like the week 5 advocacy. And it kind of reminded me of that because it talked about how, I mean, relating it to the topic of standardized tests, a lot of teachers complain that standardized tests are used to evaluate them as well, to see if they're, a good teacher without actually taking into consideration everything else they do in the classroom. So this article reminded me of what you're talking about because it said, teachers want to improve, they want to succeed, they want accurate feedback. But just like we talked about traditional teaching and how things are changing, we don't always just want to sit down and give our students a test. We want to watch them perform. We want to watch them in action. So it's the same thing. This article talks about, having somebody in the classroom to like watch the teacher and give like active feedback. So it has like 5 steps: define the behaviors that are effective teaching, encourage teachers to reflect, provide opportunities for practice and feedback, provide detailed information and feedback skills, and recognize and address the different needs in development. And it kind of reminds me of what you're talking about, because if we implement things like this, where we have, professionals coming in and evaluating teachers, from there, they can help their development by, giving them new techniques and giving them new things and giving them accurate feedback, which can then help them, better what they're doing in the classroom. And I feel like there isn't a lot of this. I remember in school, especially in high school, the principal would come in and sit in the back of the class and take notes and then walk out. Something like that doesn't really help a teacher with their evaluation. It's just, they all would say, like, we're getting evaluated, be on your best behavior. And someone would sit in the back of the room for 10 minutes. But I feel like, with somebody who's actually, trained for this kind of professional development, to be actively in the classroom, giving feedback, sharing resources, doing that kind of stuff, it can help with both evaluation and development.
Yeah, I actually was just watching the teacher that I work under get evaluated, and she was so stressed out by it. And I'm like, it is a stressful thing. Like, somebody's watching you and they're going to give you possibly negative feedback on what you're doing. And a lot of the times you're not expecting it, and I'm just like, I don't feel like it should be such a stressful thing. I think this should be something that should be beneficial for us and helpful. Like Emily, you mentioned, like, they would take notes and then walk out. Like, that's not really helping the teacher. It's just adding additional stress. And, sometimes we just need different tips and tricks to kind of help us in the classroom, or maybe just somebody to come in, like a guest speaker or something more inspirational to kind of go off of, that'll help kind of spark our love for teaching again. And that'll help, hopefully go down to the children and then lead to even more student achievement and success down the road.
I think I like what all of you guys mentioned, because I think a lot of my teachers too would always be like, okay, guys, you have to be on your best behavior, and when the principal comes in. But then I think reflecting on that, I think that is a little problematic, because teachers should be, I think, confident in their students and in their teaching, no matter who comes in or no matter what day it is. And so I feel like professionals who do come in should be able to get that authentic experience. And I feel like the pressure that teachers do have is also a problem that needs to be addressed as well. And I feel like it should just become something that's a learning process for both the teacher, professional, and the students. And so I feel like it should be consistent and not just a one-time thing where the principal just comes in once a month and then leaves again, but for them to be actively involved. And then I think, Emilia, you mentioned about teachers collaborating with each other. And I think just having that routine and that process and cycle of evaluation and feedback, I think would be a lot more beneficial for teachers to understand just how to improve their classes throughout the year, instead of just at the end of the year and then fixing it for the next year, but for it to be an active process. And so I think, that's also really important. And so I'm also just wondering, with everything that happened over COVID and like remote learning, if you guys knew that, do you guys know if teachers were evaluated during this past year? I'm not sure, but
in my school they were, because there were some students that were remote and then some students that were in the building as well. So they were still being evaluated. As far as if it was all remote though, I don't know how that would work. I don't know if the principal would have to log in too. I'm not really sure.
yeah.
It'd be interesting for sure, because it's a totally different ball game there,
Exactly. Once they went back into the classroom, that's when my mentor teacher was being evaluated. So, but they were in class Monday through Thursday, and on Friday it was remote learning. So, yeah.
Because I think just thinking about schools reopening in the fall, I feel like there needs to be even more teacher evaluation within the classroom, because I feel that students are going to come with a lot more needs, and so teachers will need that support from administration. And I think also, going back, it was probably in week 1 when we were talking about the importance of policymakers, of teachers being involved in policy decision making. And I feel like the decision makers who are building these policies should also be evaluating these teachers in person so that they do understand what these teachers are going through and how these teachers are actually working with their students, because a lot of times policymakers don't really get to see that experience that teachers go through. And so I feel like having that communication would also be really important as well.
I have a quick question.